Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
Hello, this is Josh McCown from Renault Winery Resort, and we have a very important announcement from Matt Sorensen about Learn and Grow, August 24th. Take it away, Matt.
I'm Matt Sorensen from Directed IRA. I'm excited to be the keynote speaker at the Learn and Grow event for Accountable Equity on August 23rd and 24th. You've got to book your tickets and get registered. I'm excited to be there and to meet you in person.
Here's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I can do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our life, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to The Big Show. This is Josh with John Edwin. It is great to see you, John.
Man, what a fun time we had with Howard, Aaron, Josh. I'm telling you, this guy is an inspiration to thousands and thousands of people. He is 71 years old. He's broken multiple world records. He didn't even talk about that. And Howard is also has beaten a very, very rare type of brain cancer. We didn't get into his nickname is Ocho. And it's Ocho because his oncologist, who's been practicing for about 25 years, his daughter asked, "How many people have you saved?" And she said 7. And Howard said, "Well, I'm going to be your 8th." And he has an inspiring story, guys. You're going to love it.
Yeah, I think that's what this one is. This one is absolute, pure, unbridled. It's almost like a keynote speech. Okay, it's inspiration. It's truth. It's a gentleman of 71 who wants you to be stronger mentally first, I think, and then physically, of course. So I think you're going to love this show. He's an inspiration to so many people, and it's an honor to have him on the big podcast.
Let's go.
It is an absolute pleasure to have guests like Howard on here. John, thank you for putting this together.
Yeah, absolutely. Howard, Aaron, and I have been friends for many, many years. And so I'm so excited to get him on the Capital Hacking, the Big Show. And I'm excited for our listeners to get all of his wisdom. And without further ado, Howard, can you give us a little background on who you are?
Geez. Who am I? Well, let's say this. Howard is a 71-year young man who has been in the fitness business industry, let's say, for about 30 years. I developed a passion for powerlifting, specifically bench press, which I started competing at various levels, starting locally with just gym meets, and took it to the highest level one can go, which is representing the United States on the national bench press team. And things were going well. And then all of a sudden, I started having bouts of forgetfulness, which led me to having to go see a neurologist, which led me to having a biopsy done on some brain matter, because they wanted to really find out what was going on with my ability to not remember anything. And that led to the discovery of a very rare brain cancer. I was told 1 in 2 million people come down with the intravascular B-cell lymphoma that I was diagnosed with. And we can get into this a little bit later, but let's just say that I immediately took action. And it's interesting because when I was told that I had this cancer, I didn't plan or know how I was going to react. So let's just say my internal mechanism took it as a challenge. And I kind of said, okay, this is my next competition. This is why I've been training for the 30 years plus that I've been working out. And I went into a level of dealing with this cancer that I find it amazing that I was able to do it the way I did it. But in 6 months of aggressive chemotherapy, I was able to put this cancer into remission. And there's a whole lot of takeaways and things that happened over that 6-month period. But needless to say, when I realized that I now had to face the possibility of dying. I had to come to grips with a lot of things, and one of those things was I'm not ready yet to go. So I got my back against the wall, and I am going to give it everything I had, and we can get into it a little bit later as to the detail of that. But baby, let's just say this. I was ready to fight the dragon. I was ready to meet the tap on the shoulder, which is what I call it when I was told that I had this cancer. And now I'm moving on and I'm back into competitive bench pressing. So there's where we are right now.
I absolutely love it, man. You know, and something I want to highlight that you just said was you were training, you know, day in and day out. And you know, when I owned a fight gym, there's something that we would say is we don't train to fight. We train and then fight. So you're always ready. It's not a time where it's like, oh, that's on that date's on the calendar, so let me train for that. It's training every single day, day in and day out. So when that date arises, you're ready. And that's something that you really hammered home last week in your talk is like, hey, I was training. I didn't know what the opponent would be, but this thing came up. And real quick, to put things into perspective for people, Howard, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were at the Arnold Classic warming up to compete in bench press when you really started having, I think, maybe pains or something, and you literally went to the hospital from the Arnold Classic, right?
Well, the story is that I was having bouts of forgetfulness, but because the Arnold Classic, you know, I went there in 2022, which was my first invitation. I set a world record at the Arnold Classic for men over the age of 70 at 198 pounds. I benched 150 kilos, which is 330.7 pounds. And let me tell you something, when you do that on the big stage, when you do that with lights and announcers and video people and spotters and people in the audience, you know, yelling and screaming, and you can still hold your stuff together and produce that kind of lift, you know, that's why. So I was so focused on the 2023 Arnold that even though I had this stuff happening, people were like leaving me alone. Let's let him go to the Arnold. It was like I wasn't ready to stop. I wasn't ready for anybody to say you can't go. What happened was I was there, and the morning of the meet, I got a phone call from a friend who happens to also be a doctor at a local hospital, and he found some information that was done at a neurology appointment that I had had at Cooper, and looked at how poorly I performed in this appointment and got a gut feel to say, we don't want him stressing his brain, the blood vessels any more than they probably are already being stressed. So the phone call was, I want you to check out of the hotel, tell your trainer to tell the people at the Arnold you're not competing, get on a plane, and I want you to come home. And I was very compliant. What I'm amazed at is I didn't throw a fit. I wasn't yelling and screaming. I wasn't like telling people, you can't tell me what to do, leave me alone. This is my life. I'm going to go do it. There was a message. I mean, the message had to come from God. The message that came to me that said, listen to what they're saying and do as you're being told to do. So that's how I ended up having to leave the Arnold and coming home and then going in for some further tests. And it was when they realized at one test that I had a lot of inflammation going on in my head, in my brain. There was one neurologist, one neurosurgeon who said, I want to find out exactly what it is. So, you know, listen, you know, to set up surgery, to set up an operation, to have everybody there and a whole team of people, you know, that takes a lot. That takes a lot too. So I am so blessed to say that this neurosurgeon got his act together very quickly. And the next thing I know, they went into my skull and they took out some brain matter. And then we waited the days that we needed to wait in order for pathology to come up with the findings of the biopsy. And then I got the phone call.
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead. So what I was going to say,
ahead.
just to finish what John said, fighters are always ready. Competitors are always ready to compete. You can't take the competitiveness out of people that have it. But what you can do is you can watch how they use that competitiveness to deal with whatever life is now going to throw at them. And that's how I reacted to the diagnosis.
Yeah, you deserve a lot of credit for that. And I love that. I can't believe you walked away with being at the competition, knowing you and your courage and your, commitment. I'm shocked that you were compliant. I agree. That's the most shocking. Now that I know the rest of the story, of the whole story, that might be the most shocking part, because you're not the kind of guy to give up. So you must have really heard that doctor and some intensity in his voice.
Okay, so I'm going to let you both in on something that I don't think I mentioned at all at the get together that we had last week. So when I got home, my friend, who is a thoracic surgeon over at Cooper, he came over the house. He wanted to see me, and I was making coffee at the time. So I asked him if he would like a cup of coffee. And it's for me to make coffee, it's just popping the Keurig into the machine and hitting the button. I had a piece of toast in the toaster that I also wanted to have with the coffee. And as I'm talking to him, I neglected to take the toast out of the toaster, but I actually thought I had it. So I'm talking to him about how I'm feeling as I'm buttering my hand.
Whoa.
And I didn't realize that the toast wasn't there. But my wife is watching me butter my hand, and my friend is watching me butter my hand. And they both stayed very calm. Nobody freaked out. And it was like, okay, Howard, so here's what we want you to do. We want you to pack a bag, and we want you to go down to Cooper Hospital, and we'll start making phone calls because we need to figure out what's going on. And that's how they handled themselves. And when I was told that I was doing that, I have to tell you, I do not remember that. I don't remember that. But that's when you talk about, so, hey, listen, you have inflammation in the brain. So, what's the reality check of that? Well, the reality check of that for me was that I was buttering my hand and not even thinking that I was buttering my hand. So when you talk about, how this thing affected me, yeah. So, and that's when the whole ordeal started with getting me into the hospital and checking things, and this one neurosurgeon wanting to know more than just its inflammation. He wanted to know what it was, and that's when I found out. And again, it's like when somebody tells you there's a shot you may die, when somebody tells you you have a rare disease, how do you handle that? How do you train for that? How do you deal with that statement? And again, a blessing to me was I dealt with it just like John had mentioned. I dealt with it as I'm competitive ready. And if this is the next competition, and if this is my next opponent, and if this is the next event, then I'll get myself ready. And this is what we do.
I'll hand it back to you in a second, John. But so you popped into my life about 2 to 3 years ago. I see you on stage. You're a pretty healthy gentleman, and you're debating the body's value, our body's ability, to heal and to produce testosterone. And you're debating, people are saying, let's use artificial testosterone as we get older. And you're like, no, let the body do it. Here's how you do it. And you train. I mean, I'm summarizing terribly, but I remember watching you up there, and I didn't know John so well. And so I didn't know you were even connected to John at the time, because we were out in like the mountains of Denver, in Colorado somewhere.
We were Park City,
Utah. So anyway, and I remember thinking, that guy, you blew my mind. I was like, man, that guy's got so much life in him, so much power. So I have to ask you, I don't even know who you would be before the health industry because you're like an icon. What were you doing for 40 years before, the first 40 years? What were you doing, brother?
Well, it's interesting. So, I was told early on I had a gift to get, and when I graduated Philadelphia College of Pharmacy, my intentions were to stay in the field of pharmacy. I love medicine. I was always curious about doctors and operations. I as part of the internship program that University of the Sciences, which is what Philadelphia College of PCP&S finally came down to. They sent us out to the hospitals, and I went to a hospital that no longer is in existence. I was down at Hahnemann Hospital, which was at the time in the 70s a big metropolitan hospital. And I went on rounds, and I got intrigued by this one gentleman who was there because he dove into a pond. He dove into a pool of water in front of the art museum, like where one of those statues were. He didn't realize that the pool was only like 3 feet deep or 2 feet deep. So what happened was he dives in. He has a very bad spinal injury. He ends up becoming a paraplegic.
Right.
And as a result of that, he then they needed to perform a surgery on him to help him with his movements, with his number one and number two. I'll just leave it as that. But I wanted to see the surgery. And I remember going up to the surgeon and saying, is it okay if I go in to watch? And I'm a fifth-year pharmacy student, so I'm 21 years old, and I'm scrubbing up with the surgical team, and I'm putting the surgical stuff on. And man, when I got out of there, it just blew me away. I wanted medicine. I wanted this field. I wanted to see how I could handle it. Well, make a long story short, I found myself in a high-volume pharmacy typing labels and being yelled at by customers who were accusing me of charging them for a brand name when now generics were now becoming accepted in the world of medicine. And I said, you know what, I got to get out of this. And if I end that chapter right there, the next part, you guys, I'm going to blow you away with what I did. So I went into the recycling business. I went into a business that my father's oldest brother was in, and it was it was a recycling type of industry, and it was a dirty business, but the money was pretty clean. So I said, I'll get dirty. I don't have any problem getting dirty. I never knew that this was in me, but there was something about getting my hands into whatever it was I was doing. Well, anyway, I went into business with my uncle. And then one day, a buddy of mine from the industry who was in business with his father comes up to me and he says, listen, I'm getting ready to leave my dad. I want to go out on my own. What are your thoughts? And it was like, what do you mean? Well, we'll own a bit. We'll go into business. So I went into the recycling business and pissed off my family and pissed off my grandfather and pissed off anybody that knew, like, how could I leave my uncle? Well, I wanted to be my own man. So I went into business with a friend of mine. And then 8 years later, I asked to be bought out, and he bought me out. And then I went into the janitorial supply business, and then accidentally bumped into a company that was looking for distributorship, a company that could handle a master distributorship in the United States for the latex gloves that they were making in Malaysia. And I'm now talking to the two guys that own this plant. And now we're talking the 80s. AIDS is here. Yeah. Everybody all of a sudden is afraid to touch anybody. So it's like, okay, well, then you're going to have to wear gloves. And now if you go to pay your toll at the toll booth, they're wearing gloves. And if you want to go to a nursing home, they're changing anything and everything with gloves. So then I got into the glove business, and I took that big. I took a company that was doing $600,000 to $6 million in
Wow.
5 years. In 5 years. But then what's crazy is this: like money excites me. Money motivated me. Money is where I was when I was in sales. Because when you sell, you know what you're making. I always said this to my kids: you don't want to be a cost of operations. You want to be one of the sales streams going into the company. And this is why. So this is what I did. But then here's what happened. So the gym business started getting crazy, letting physical therapists and chiropractors and rehabilitating companies coming into their facility. And now the gym is offering other services outside of just the gym business. So they were offering chiropractic care and physical therapy and massage. And now we're talking back into the 90s. So I was approached by a company that was in the area, and I was asked whether or not I would like to join in. And I said to my partner, who I was in the latex glove business with, you're going to have to buy me out, because this is now what I want to do. And I'm sorry if I pissed you off, but this really sounds cool. And then one of the gyms that they had a chiropractor in happened to be a gym in Old City. And I went down there, and I then started talking to the owners of the gym, who said, we want to expand beyond this one gym, but this gym is taking too slow to ramp up. We're thinking about selling. I said, well, wait a minute, let's have a meeting. And what turned out was they wanted to dump this gym because it didn't ramp fast enough, which made no sense to me at all. Even though they were still operating at a loss, they were still operating red. Old City was turning from a light industrial sewing, knitting type area to residential with lofts, apartments. And so I actually, back in 96, I got a hold of a realtor down in the Old City area, and I said, have you been running reports to show what's coming into this area? And he said, yeah, sure, I can show you an analysis that we did over the next 2 years. And I'm looking at how many people they show coming into this area every month for the next 2 years. And I'm looking at the numbers, and I said, this is the only gym in the area. I mean, unless you're going to go to a gym where you work, you're going to go to a gym near where you live. And I looked at it and I said, based on what you're showing me, I could hit cash flow break even in 8 months. So I went back to the owners and said, I'd like to take the gym off your hands.
So how'd you structure the deal? Just to cap
it's
this
interesting.
Off, how'd you structure it?
Well, so here's so the first thing, and listen, the first thing I was taught to do is ask, what are you looking for? Because maybe what they want is less than what I would actually have to pay, So we had to value the assets. Now, the assets were leased, so they really didn't even own the assets. So what I had to do was take a look at their expenses and back out of the expenses things that I knew they were running through the business that really shouldn't, could go in another direction. So car leases and health insurance and things. So, what I finally said to them was, I said, look, how's 100,000? And they asked me where I came up from that number. And what I had to say was, it's going to take me 2 years to make that money up. And I have to change the whole demeanor of what you got going on here. And anyway, to make a long story short, they said yes. And they took it, fine. They said, and you can pay it out over 18 months. And then 6 months later, so now I'm still 12 months into the buyout. I had to go up to them and say, if I could write you a check today, what would you take? And to make a long story short, I ended up buying the gym for $60,000.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who have already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com. You can fill out the contact form. We'll get right back to you and see if this is a great fit for you and your family. We'd love to meet you. We look forward to learning about you. Please visit us at accountableequity.com.
Hey, this is Matt Sorensen, author of the Self-Directed IRA Handbook, CEO at Directed IRA. You're listening to the best podcast, the Capital Hacking Podcast.
A long story short, in 2003, now I own the gym for 5 years. The gym is doing amazing. I opened up a second gym in Northern Liberties because Northern Liberties was going to become the next Old City. And my landlord in Old City owned a property in Northern Liberties, and he loved what we did with the gym that we owned. So he said, I want you to do this again over there. And I said, I'm not ready financially to do it. And he said to me, don't worry about the build out. I'll cover it. You'll just pay it back as part of your lease over the first 3 years of the 10-year lease. Now, as a tenant, I'm thinking, all right, look, so you really want me there. But the other thing that I had to also remember was I'm bringing value to his assets.
Yes, absolutely.
So now he's taking a warehouse that we're going to make a gym into, and whatever he's going to do to show what that is now worth, God bless him. But then in 2003, I had a gentleman call me up and say, hey, listen, I have somebody that wants to buy your gym. And I didn't say which one. He called in Old City. So I said, okay, so what do you want to do? Well, come on down. We want to have a meeting with you, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they were interested in the Old City gym. But if they only wanted that gym, we couldn't have a non-compete because they didn't realize that a mile away, I had another gym. So I then said to them, listen, you either buy none or you buy both. And the answer was, well, let's think about it. Make a long story short. I sold the two gyms for $950,000, which, because I looked at the 60 that I paid, and we put our sweat into it, but everybody was making a living, and it wasn't. When you're in the gym business, I have to say this to you, when you're in the gym business, you're in it because you love what you do.
That's right.
You love your customer service. You're helping people get healthier. You're helping people get stronger, and that's the real reason. Now, if you can make a nice living doing what you're doing, then that's just icing on the cake, as far as I'm concerned. So when I had the opportunity to sell the two, I did, and then I helped a gentleman in Philadelphia open up his first location, which was at 2nd and Spring Garden. The little company was called City Fitness, and of course now they're like 6 or 8 locations. And then I went to East Falls and I opened up a gym called East Falls Fitness. What's funny is John was a member of that gym because when John moved up into the East Falls area, he came in as a member, but I knew him from Old City, so now we continue our relationship. And then in 2014, I said to my son, I'm done. I don't want to worry about who's working. I don't want to worry about the toilets overflowing. I don't want to worry about anything else. And I just want to train. And then that's when I decided that this is really what I love doing. I love taking people that need to get stronger and help them accomplish that goal. And when I talk about the correlation between my cancer and I'm in the health and fitness business, I have to say this to you. The body is so capable of helping itself beyond what anybody really thinks the body can do for itself. We think doctors are the miracle workers. We think doctors are going to give us the answers. And then we think the drugs and the things that they're going to do. But at the end of the day, Josh, at the end of the day, if your body is strong, you're going to be able to handle all the stuff that they're going to throw at you, and you're going to be able to handle it better than if you never trained to get stronger. So then the mission became, I want to help as many people as I can. I want to take anybody that thinks they can't get stronger and show them they can. And then I want to take the person who thinks they're strong enough. Oh no, I'm strong enough. All I want to do now is maintain. When you set your goals to maintain, you're more or less saying, I'm ready to take the nosedive down. Because the body is going to continue aging. The body is going to continue wanting to break down. That's what happens if you let everything happen without you having any say in it at all. You're going to get old. You're going to be brittle. You're going to be weak. The spine is going to curve. You know, you're going to look like an old man. All right. This is 71. My energy is what a 40-year-old maybe has. Okay. So I know that as strong as I am, I feel that strength. And baby, I will tell you that I told cancer when it came and knocked and tapped me and said, all right, your turn. Bring it. Let's go. Let's go.
I love you.
I'm ready for the fight.
Howard, thank you. Thank you so much, man. We could go on and on. There's so much more I want to talk about. So we're going to have to bring you back on the show at some point. We have a couple minutes left. Where can our listeners connect with you?
You know, I love that question. You know, I have a website that is in dire need of updating and upgrading, but howardaaron.com will get you to my website. And a lot of the stuff on there is from 5-6 years ago, but at least you'll see my phone number and you'll see my email address, you know, and I think that will lead you to either wanting to call me or text me or sending me an email, you know, and outside of that, it would really be, you know, if you just Google Howard Aaron fitness trainer or Howard Aaron bench press, you will see things come up that all lead to me. So, you know, I will say that that's probably the quickest way and the easiest way for anybody to want to reach out. And I'd love to talk and listen and read whatever your story is, and let me see what I can do to help.
Awesome.
Howard, we didn't get to talk about it today, but I know a lot of the people that you train now. And I know you train through video conferencing, which blew my mind the other day. You do Zoom training.
Yeah.
And I will say this, and you can feel free to close out on this comment, or you can say something is my interpretation of you from the few limited times I've been able to be around you is it's not about strength. It's not even about health. I think you're a leader. And you have a way to draw out what that person is capable of. Just even being around you, I feel inspired every time. I feel like you see right through my heart. I'm sure you do that for everybody. So somehow you've been honing your gift of leadership. And I don't know if you do it intentionally or is it natural? And I'll let you comment on that as we wrap up.
You know, I'll say this. I remember how I was when I was 16 years old, 15 years old, hanging at the playground, playing ball, you know, shooting the breeze with my friends, and I will tell you that I am the same person. I haven't changed. I held on to what I felt were my positive qualities, and you know, when I work with people, whether it's in person or remote, Josh, I'll tell you this. You may say something that may lead me to a direction in working with you and helping you and suggesting to you to take care of something. A gentleman last week, in fact, Hone stood up, and I completely forgot about the statement that he made. But in front of the group, he had said, listen, I recommended that he go to a proactive, integrative type doctor rather than going to the traditional reactive type doctors. And I looked up a practice for him. That didn't take me more than 3 minutes to do. And I sent it to him. And you know what he did? He called them, and then he went there and they saw him and they found that he was severely allergic to gluten. And they told him that if you would have continued eating gluten, you could have gone down this path. And it scared the daylights out of him. So he then made the change in his diet to avoid gluten. He called me up and he said, dude, you saved my life. And listen, my intentions before that even happened was to say, let me help you find a better way to take care of your body proactively, not reactively. So, Josh, if you want to say this, I look to help people. I'm a healer, and I want to do anything that I can to help you be better than you are. And that's a very broad statement, but it definitely covers a lot of people and a lot of history.
Thank you,
Awesome.
buddy.
Thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure, guys. And we'll do this again. We'll do this again.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Damn straight. We just got
Yeah,
to the
buddy.
End. We got to the end of another great show. And everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends.
Fun.
Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.